This is like a joke. All right. So I'm still trying to get a hold of DataCamp to get the classroom access to the lessons, and they're just not responding. So I'm afraid, I don't know, I'm afraid they're not going to activate our classroom subscription. So in the meantime, I used DataCamp as a way to kind of just introduce you to some of the very basic concepts of R. They have just kind of these little interactive, web browser-based coding thing where it says like, do 5 plus 12, and you type in 5 plus 12 in your browser, and then you hit enter, and it says good job, and you get like 100 points or whatever, and you get these fake points. For better or worse, it was a decent way to kind of introduce R, and it was freely accessible. But for whatever reason, I can't get a hold of them, and they're not activating my subscription. So in the meantime, I want to make sure you guys can at least get introduced and acquainted with R. So I have posted, if you look on the modules on Brew and Learn, in week 2, I have a couple PDFs. There's part 1, R basics, and part 2, R vectors. And it's just, I've based a lot of this on the DataCamp lesson itself. And it's just kind of a little bit of text, a little bit of code, a little bit of text, a little bit of code. And to get you familiar with typing in the code into R, I recommend actually just taking the bits of code that appear in these PDFs and just retyping them yourself, right? You don't have to retype the comments. Comments are led by the hash mark, and don't retype the comments, but the little bits of code, just try retyping them in yourself, right? So one of the first things says do 3 plus 4, and you do 3 plus 4 and it outputs 7 and things like that. I'm assuming we all got R installed on our machines. And then some of you, I don't know if this was presented, if you have like a Chromebook or an iPad and you're using your iPad as your primary computational device and you can't like install R on that, there's an alternative, and it's called Posit Cloud. It's the company that creates RStudio is called Posit, and you can create a free account at posit.cloud, and then you can run R and RStudio in your browser. Okay, so you just open up Chrome or whatever, and you can run it that way. So that's an alternative if you're not able to install software on your own laptop. But anyway, I recommend just kind of retyping some of the code, and that will just kind of get you familiar with what happens here, and to introduce some of the basics in R. Okay, well, this is a problem if I can't share my screen. So, well, it looks like a lot of you have your laptops, so I guess I'll just kind of talk you through the stuff, and we'll see if we'll see how good my speaking and descriptive abilities are. It's going to be kind of like I guess descriptive audio of how this is going to work. So, so this first part of our course, I just want us to get comfortable with the idea of exploring our data. Okay, exploring data in R and RStudio, and also just getting familiarizing ourselves with this concept of what does it mean to actually explore the data. So, we'll take a look at some examples where we'll either import data that exists in R, or we'll open up a CSV file. And part of it, okay, a lot of times when you have a big table, it's easy just to kind of, I guess, ignore the individual rows. But I think there's significance in looking at the individual rows themselves. Like, look, each row represents an actual observation, and so, as you explore the data, look at some of the rows themselves, look at the values in there, see if the values are, feel really large or small or things like that. And one thing that will become clear is that your exploration of the data will either be enhanced or limited by your familiarity with that subject itself. Okay? So, for example, if you are a fan of baseball and somebody gives you a bunch of baseball data, you will have a great advantage at exploring the data, because you can look at each line and you'll say, oh, I'm familiar with this particular baseball player, or I'm familiar with these numbers, and so I know that seeing a batting average of 0.32 is great or something. Yes, thank you. It's good. All right, I'm going to pause my recording here.